What if I told you that the first 30 minutes of your morning are silently deciding whether you become powerful or powerless? Most people wake up and immediately surrender. They grab their phone. They scroll. They react. They let the world tell them who they need to be before they've even decided who they are. And then they wonder why they feel anxious, distracted, and mentally weak. But here's the truth. Mentally strong people don't have stronger genetics. They don't have easier lives. They don't have fewer problems. They simply win the morning before the morning wins them. Mental strength is not built in chaos. It's built in discipline. It's built in small decisions no one sees. It's built when you choose growth over comfort before anyone is watching. You see, the morning is a psychological battlefield. And every single day, you either step into it prepared or you walk in unarmed. Think about this. When you wake up, your brain is in its most suggestible state. Your thoughts are soft clay. Whatever touches them first leaves a mark. If the first thing you consume is fear, comparison, or negativity, you start the day already defending yourself. But if the first thing you feed your mind is intention, clarity, and purpose, you start the day advancing. Mentally strong people understand something most people ignore. How you start determines how you endure. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits. And the most powerful habits are the ones that happen when nobody is clapping. I've seen leaders who handle billion-dollar decisions with calm confidence. I've seen individuals who go through heartbreak, failure, and loss and still stand tall. And when you ask them their secret, it's rarely dramatic. It's rarely glamorous. It's how they wake up. It's the quiet, invisible rituals that build emotional armor. So if you want resilience, if you want confidence, if you want clarity under pressure, it doesn't start with a motivational quote. It starts tomorrow morning. And today, we begin with the first habit that separates the mentally strong from everyone else. The first habit is this: they don't negotiate with the alarm. When the alarm goes off, most people start a conversation in their head. 5 more minutes. I slept late. I'll start tomorrow. And in that tiny negotiation, something dangerous happens. You practice breaking promises to yourself before the day even begins. Mental strength is built on self-trust. And self-trust is built when your actions match your words. If you say you're going to wake up at 5,030 and you hit snooze 3 times, you've already told your brain something powerful: my comfort matters more than my commitment. Now that might seem small, it's just 5 minutes, right? But the brain doesn't measure time, it measures patterns. And every time you give in, you reinforce a pattern of avoidance. Mentally strong people understand that discipline is not about punishment. It's about alignment. When the alarm rings, they move. Not because they feel like it. Not because they're superhuman, but because they refuse to start their day by losing a battle to comfort. There's a story I love about a young officer in training. The first lesson he was taught wasn't about strategy or weapons. It was about making his bed perfectly every single morning. At first, it felt meaningless. But the instructor said something powerful. If you can't manage the small things, you can't be trusted with the big things. Waking up on time is the first small victory of the day. It sends a signal to your mind: I am in control. And control is everything when it comes to mental strength. Not control over the world, not control over other people, control over yourself. When you get up immediately, you build momentum, you build identity, you become someone who does what they say they will do. And that identity compounds. Because here's the truth: you don't become mentally strong when life gets hard. You reveal whether you've been training for it. The alarm clock is training. It's resistance. It's a moment of discomfort that costs nothing but gives everything. And the beautiful part, nobody else even sees it. There's no applause, no recognition, just you and your decision. So tomorrow morning, when that alarm rings, don't negotiate, don't hesitate, don't debate, move. Because the moment you win the morning, you begin to win yourself. The second habit is this: they create silence before they create noise. Most people wake up and immediately inject chaos into their mind. Notifications, emails, news, opinions. And before they've even taken a full breath, they're reacting to the world. Mentally strong people do the opposite. They protect the first moments of their day like they're sacred. Because they understand something powerful. You cannot hear your own thoughts. The world is screaming at you. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is strategy. When you sit in silence, even for 5 or 10 minutes, you begin to notice what's actually happening inside you. You notice the anxiety, you notice the doubt, you notice the excitement, and instead of being controlled by those emotions, you observe them. That's where strength begins. There was a CEO I once worked with who ran a massive organization. Every morning, before checking a single message, he would sit alone with a notebook and a cup of coffee. No phone, no conversation, just silence. I asked him why. He said, if I don't decide who I need to be today, the day will decide for me. That's powerful. Silence allows you to choose your posture before pressure arrives. It allows you to say, today I will be patient. Today I will be courageous. Today I will respond, not react. Most people think mental toughness is loud. They think it's aggressive. They think it's pushing through everything. But true strength is calm. It's grounded. It's steady. And steadiness is built in quiet moments. When you sit in silence, you also strengthen your attention. In a world that profits from your distraction, the ability to focus is a superpower. The more you practice being still, the less you're pulled in every direction. Think about it like this: if your mind is a muscle, silence is the gym. At first, it feels uncomfortable. You'll want to reach for your phone. You'll feel restless. That's normal. That's the resistance. But every time you breathe through it, you build endurance. And endurance is what carries you when the meeting gets tense, when the criticism hits, when the unexpected happens. Because you've trained yourself not to panic in the quiet, which means you won't panic in the storm. So before the world gets your attention, give that attention to yourself. Create silence. And in that silence, build the strength that no one can take from you. The third habit is this: they move their body before they move their problems. Most people wake up and immediately start thinking about everything that's wrong. The deadlines, the stress, the responsibilities, and they try to solve it all while still lying in bed. That's not strength. That's mental overload. Mentally strong people understand something fundamental. The body and the mind are not separate. When your body is stagnant, your thoughts become heavy. When your body moves, your mind follows. You don't need a 2-hour workout. You don't need a perfect gym routine. What you need is motion, a walk, push-ups, stretching, cold water on your face, something that tells your nervous system, we are alive, we are capable, we are ready. There was a time when I worked with a leader who was going through intense pressure. His company was struggling. Investors were questioning him. Every morning he felt anxiety the moment he opened his eyes. Instead of diving into emails, he made one change. He committed to 20 minutes of movement before touching his phone. He told me something fascinating. He said, "I don't feel less pressure. I feel more prepared for it." That's the difference. Exercise doesn't remove your problems. It strengthens the container that holds them. When your heart rate increases, when your muscles engage, your brain releases chemicals that improve focus and reduce stress. But beyond biology, there's psychology. When you push through physical discomfort early in the morning, you remind yourself that discomfort is survivable. And that reminder is powerful. Mental strength is not about avoiding stress. It's about expanding your capacity to handle it. Movement expands that capacity. Think about the days you feel sluggish. On those days, even small obstacles feel overwhelming. Now think about the days you've moved your body when you feel energized. The same obstacles feel manageable. Your external world hasn't changed. You have. Movement also builds identity. You become someone who takes action instead of overthinking. Someone who generates energy instead of waiting for it. And here's what most people miss. Physical discipline transfers into emotional discipline. If you can push through the last 30 seconds of a plank, you can push through an uncomfortable conversation. If you can finish the run when your legs are burning, you can finish the project when your motivation fades. Strength in one area spills into another. So before you tackle the world's demands, move your body, build momentum, raise your standard. Because when your body wakes up strong, your mind... The fourth habit is this: they choose intention over impulse. Most people don't start their day with a plan. They start their day with reaction. Whatever feels urgent becomes important. Whatever is loudest gets their attention. And by noon, they're exhausted, not because they worked hard, but because they worked scattered. Mentally strong people decide what matters before the world starts demanding things from them. They don't ask, what do I feel like doing today? They ask, who do I need to be today? That's a different question. There was an entrepreneur I once spoke with who told me something simple but profound. Every morning, he writes down the 3 most important outcomes for the day. Not a to-do list of 20 tasks, just 3 outcomes. He said, if I complete these 3 things, the day is a success. Everything else is extra. That clarity changes everything, because without intention you drift. And drifting feels like motion, but it's not progress. Mental strength requires direction. It requires the ability to say no to distractions, even good ones. It requires resisting the dopamine hit of easy tasks in favor of meaningful ones. And here's the truth: your brain loves impulse. It loves novelty. It loves checking messages and switching tasks. But every time you chase impulse, you weaken your focus. Every time you return to intention, you strengthen it. Think of your attention like a spotlight. If it's constantly moving, nothing gets illuminated fully. But when it stays steady, it reveals depth. When you wake up and decide your intention, whether it's finishing a proposal, having a difficult conversation, or staying calm under pressure, you anchor your behavior. You create a filter. When distractions appear, you don't have to debate them. You measure them against your intention. Does this move me forward, or is this just noise? That simple question builds discipline. And discipline builds confidence. Because confidence is not loud talk. It's evidence. It's knowing that when you choose something, you follow through. There will always be unexpected demands. There will always be chaos. But when you start your morning with intention, you're no longer at the mercy of randomness. You become proactive instead of reactive. So tomorrow, before you check a single notification, decide your 3 outcomes. Decide your posture. Decide your focus. Because mentally strong people don't let the day happen to them. They shape it. The 5th habit is this: they practice gratitude before pressure. Now, I know what some people think when they hear the word gratitude. It sounds soft. It sounds passive. It sounds like pretending everything is okay. But gratitude is not denial. It's perspective. And perspective is power. Most people wake up and immediately focus on what's missing, what they don't have, what's not working, what they're behind on. And when you begin your day from a place of scarcity, everything feels like a threat. Mentally strong people train their minds differently. Before the stress enters, before the demands pile up, they deliberately acknowledge what is working. It can be simple. The fact that you woke up, the roof over your head, the opportunity to try again, the people who believe in you, even the challenges that are forcing you to grow. There was a leader I once met who had gone through a massive business failure, millions lost, reputation questioned. When I asked him how he stayed steady, he said something I'll never forget. He said, "Every morning I remind myself of what I still have, because if I only focus on what I lost, I lose twice." That's strength. Gratitude shifts your nervous system. It moves you from survival mode into a state of openness. And when you're open, you think more clearly. You respond more thoughtfully. You make better decisions. This isn't about writing 100 things in a journal. It's about taking 2 minutes and asking yourself, what is already good in my life? Because here's the truth, your brain has a negativity bias. It's designed to scan for threats. That kept us alive thousands of years ago. But in modern life, that same bias creates anxiety, comparison, and constant dissatisfaction. Gratitude retrains that bias. And when you consistently retrain your focus, you strengthen your emotional stability. Think about two people facing the same obstacle. One starts the day thinking, nothing ever works out for me. The other starts thinking, I've overcome hard things before. Who handles the challenge better? Same situation, different perspective, different outcome. Gratitude doesn't remove difficulty. It reminds you of your resources. And when you recognize your resources, your skills, your relationships, your resilience, you stop seeing yourself as fragile. You start seeing yourself as capable. So before the pressure hits, anchor yourself in appreciation. Not because life is perfect, but because your strength grows where your focus goes. The sixth habit is this: they do one hard thing before 9 a.m. Not 10 hard things. Not an overwhelming list. Just one. Most people spend their mornings avoiding discomfort. They answer easy emails, they scroll, they organize, they prepare, it feels productive, but it's often just sophisticated procrastination. Mentally strong people flip that pattern. They identify the task that creates the most resistance. The difficult conversation, the deep work session, the workout they don't feel like doing, the proposal they've been delaying, and they attack it early. Why? Because willpower is highest in the morning. And courage compounds. There was a young manager I once worked with who dreaded giving feedback to his team. He would postpone it all day, telling himself he needed to find the right time. By the evening, he was exhausted and avoided it again. We made one change. He scheduled those conversations first thing in the morning. After a few weeks, he said something powerful. It's not that I'm less afraid, I just don't give fear the whole day to grow. That's the key. When you delay what's difficult, you don't reduce stress. You stretch it. You carry it in the back of your mind like a weight. It drains your focus. It steals your presence. But when you confront it early, even imperfectly, you free your energy. Doing one hard thing every morning rewires your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who avoids discomfort. You start seeing yourself as someone who moves toward it. And that identity shift is everything, because life will not get easier. Responsibilities increase. Expectations grow. Pressure multiplies. If you're always waiting to feel ready, you'll always feel behind. Mentally strong people don't wait for motivation. They act and motivation follows. Think of it like this: every time you choose the hard thing, you cast a vote for the person you want to become. Not the comfortable version, the capable version. And here's what's beautiful about this habit. It builds quiet confidence, not loud, boastful confidence, the steady kind, the kind that says, I've handled hard things before. I can handle this. You don't need a dramatic transformation, you need daily proof. So tomorrow morning, identify the one thing you've been avoiding, the one that makes you slightly uncomfortable, and do it first. Because when you train yourself to run toward difficulty, pressure stops feeling like an enemy. It starts feeling like preparation. The seventh habit is this: they guard their input like their life depends on it. Because in many ways it does. Most people wake up and immediately consume news, social media, opinions, messages, and they do it passively. They let strangers shape their emotional state before they've even brushed their teeth. Mentally strong people are extremely selective about what they allow into their minds in the morning. They understand a simple truth: you become what you consume. If the first thing you see is outrage, you start the day tense. If the first thing you see is comparison, you start the day insecure. If the first thing you see is negativity, you start the day defensive, and then you wonder why you feel off. Your brain is programmable. The morning is when the programming is most powerful. So the question is not whether you're being influenced. The question is by what? I once met a founder who completely eliminated news and social media before noon. Not because he was ignorant, not because he didn't care, but because he realized that starting his day with other people's priorities weakened his focus on his own mission. He replaced that habit with reading 10 pages of something challenging and meaningful: leadership, psychology, history, something that expanded his thinking instead of shrinking it. Within months, he noticed something dramatic. He felt calmer, more strategic, less reactive. That's not coincidence. That's design. Mental strength requires clarity, and clarity requires clean input. Think about your mind like a garden. If you let weeds grow unchecked, they will take over. But if you intentionally plant strong seeds, ideas that inspire growth, courage, and purpose, you change the landscape over time. This doesn't mean you ignore reality. It means you choose when and how to engage with it. There is a difference between being informed and being overwhelmed. And here's the deeper truth: what you consume repeatedly shapes your beliefs. Your beliefs shape your decisions. Your decisions shape your life. So if you want a stronger life, you need stronger input. Before you open your phone tomorrow, ask yourself, is this feeding my strength or draining it? Because mentally strong people don't let algorithms control their attention. They choose their influence, and that choice, repeated every morning, builds a mind that is steady, focused, and resilient, no matter what the world throws at it. The eighth habit is this: they write before they speak. Most people wake up and immediately react. They respond to emails, texts, notifications, and the constant demands of others. They let their first words of the day be shaped by urgency, frustration, or expectation, and then they wonder why their day feels chaotic. Mentally strong people know that the mind is a storm first thing in the morning. Thoughts are scattered, emotions are raw, and if you speak before you think, you reinforce confusion instead of clarity. Writing, even for a few minutes, creates space. It turns noise into order. It turns raw emotion into deliberate thought. It allows you to clarify your intentions before you broadcast them to the world. There was a leader I worked with who started each morning with a journal. Not long essays, just 3 lines, one thing I'm grateful for, one challenge I anticipate, and one action I will take. He told me, writing doesn't fix problems, it fixes me. And when I'm fixed, problems look smaller. That's the power of capturing your thoughts before releasing them. Writing strengthens self-awareness. It allows you to track patterns, recognize triggers, and understand your emotions. When you see your thoughts on paper, you separate yourself from them. You gain perspective. And perspective is strength. The brain craves clarity. Chaos creates anxiety. Writing creates clarity. By committing thoughts to paper, you preempt reactive behavior. You become proactive instead of defensive. This habit also builds accountability. When you write down your intentions, you create a contract with yourself. And every time you follow through, you reinforce the identity of someone who does what they say they will do. Think about it. The most successful people rarely start their days by reacting to the world. They start by shaping their own world first. And writing is the tool that gives them that power. Even a short 5-minute practice can transform your day. It reduces stress, increases focus, and primes your mind for mental toughness. You're not just starting your day. You're creating a container that holds your energy, your focus, and your resilience. So tomorrow, before responding to anyone, before reacting to any situation, write first. Empty the storm. Capture the vision. Decide the priority. Because words spoken without thought are wasted energy. Words written with intention build strength that lasts far beyond the morning. The 9th habit is this: they review their long-term vision before the short-term noise. Most people wake up and are immediately trapped by the urgent. Emails, messages, problems, social media, they all scream for attention. And by the time they think about their goals, the day is half gone. They feel busy, but they feel powerless. Mentally strong people do the opposite. They anchor themselves in the bigger picture before letting the small things dictate their energy. They remind themselves, where am I going? And what does today need to contribute to that journey? There was an executive I know who faced constant pressure from clients, investors, and a team of 50. Every day could have pulled him in 100 directions. Yet every morning, before any meeting, he spent 10 minutes reviewing his vision, his mission, and his long-term goals. He said, if I lose sight of the mountain, I'll trip over every rock. A vision provides context. It gives purpose to discomfort. It transforms obstacles into steps instead of threats. And when the mind is connected to purpose, it becomes nearly unstoppable. Without this habit, people drift, they react. They exhaust themselves solving problems that may not matter in the long run. But with it, every decision becomes intentional. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to reinforce identity. Reviewing your vision in the morning is not daydreaming, it's preparation. It aligns your energy with your values. It reminds you who you are becoming, not just what you're doing. Mentally strong people know that motivation is fleeting, but identity is lasting. Your vision is the anchor that shapes identity. And when identity is clear, discipline becomes natural. You don't have to force yourself to act. You act because your actions match who you know you are. Even a short reflection, reading a mission statement, reviewing goals, or visualizing success changes how your brain filters the day's events. Urgent distractions lose power. Stress is met with perspective. You operate from alignment instead of reaction. This habit compounds over time. Days become weeks, weeks become months, and months become the person you want to be. The small intentional act of connecting to vision each morning builds mental strength that is invisible to the world but undeniable in results. So tomorrow, before the noise, before the demands, take time to see the bigger picture. Remind yourself why you're doing what you're doing. Anchor your day in purpose. Because the mind that starts with vision is unshakable. It doesn't just survive the day, it shapes it.